Oh, internet. Okay now.
I misunderstood your question.
All right. Dan's late.
He's coming though?
Good evening. Linda, could you please open with the invocation?
Ephesians 3:12. In him and through faith in him, we may approach God with freedom and confidence. John 8:36. If the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. Lord, we come boldly to you in your presence because of our faith in who you are. We joyfully welcome the freedom to approach you and embrace being free indeed, without worry, anxiety, or fear. In Deuteronomy 31:6, be strong and courageous. Do not fear or be in dread, for it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. Lord, you are the way maker. Lord, you are the miracle worker. You are the promise keeper and the light in the darkness. Lord, we believe you are and have been at work in the lives of your people, in this community, and in this nation. You have answers to our questions. You have provisions for all our needs. We know that you supply, provide, deliver, equip, distribute, and arrange all our needs according to your will and authority. We especially ask today that you open up your coffers and that these funds would encourage and uplift those in this community that are in need. Release the necessary money needed for this city council to do the work it needs to do. We pray for an economic turnaround and a boost in businesses. We are hopeful that Freeport will look appealing to new businesses from outside the area. We are careful to say thank you and to praise you for all you do for us. We are so blessed by you. Lord, continue to use us as instruments of change and blessings to all around us. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Linda. So now we'll officially call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Mayor Miller.
Here.
Alderpersons Borneman.
Here.
McClanathan.
Here.
Ross.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Busker.
Here.
Brashaw.
Here.
Mysick is absent. And Berberet.
Here.
And if you could please stand and join us with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Alderman Berberet. Okay, item number 1 is approval of the agenda. However, we are going to remove on the executive session 5 ILCS 120-2C2. So is there a motion for the approval of the agenda?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman Ross. All those in favor of the approval of the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Item number 2 is the approval of the minutes from the council meeting on August 19th, 2019. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved. Seconded.
We have a motion made by Alderman Berberet, seconded by Alderman Borneman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Next is item number 3, which is public comments. We have 3 that have signed up. Brian Heiler.
Yes, my name is Brian Heiler, president and part owner of South Street Slots Incorporated. And I've been up here all the rest of the last meetings. One of the things I have noticed is all but the very beginning couple, there was one person that was against our place of business. Other than that, everyone that I see has been coming in here speaking has all been pro. And I would just like to, I know I extended a welcome for everybody to come out and take a look at our business. You know, can I have a show of hands? How many people did come out and take advantage of that? I appreciate that, and, hopefully if we have any questions, or if you have any questions, feel free to call and holler at me. The one thing I'm looking at tonight is, hopefully that you'll vote to grandfather us in. It's black and white in paper, the revenue that we're going to be able to give to the city of Freeport. But the other aspect of it is, although I have, 6 employees, it's not just 6 people we're going to affect. It's going to be all the families and friends that are involved. And so we're talking dozens of people that are going to be affected if it doesn't get grandfathered in, just for the fact that we would have to close our business. And so I just ask, hopefully, that you'll grandfather us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brian. Next on the sign-up is Ben Heiler.
Good evening, Ben Heiler, part owner of Silver Creek Gaming Lounge. Spoke at the other meetings, and just want to bring it back to May when the first annexation came into play. I think a major agenda item for the city council was to limit the gaming lounges in the area. With me being part owner, we had all our licenses, everything we needed to have in the county before the annexation occurred. And now we're here focused on grandfathering, right? Whether or not you guys should allow us to operate in the city of Freeport. Again, you guys have accomplished the goal. There's not going to be any other gaming lounges, standalone gaming lounges open in Freeport. But do the annexation at the expense of 2 businesses that got their licenses before the annexation and operated legally, it'd just be a shame and not right. So just want you guys to think about that and hope that you guys grandfather us in. Thank you.
Thank you. And last on the list is Linda Heiler. Okay, thank you. Okay, next we'll move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is to consider to be routine in nature unless there's a member of the council that would like to have something removed for further discussion. Does a member of the council have anything they would like to remove? Seeing none, the consent agenda consists of approval and then place on file the Liquor Commission minutes from July 11th and July 24th, 2019. The Historic Preservation Commission minutes from July 16th, the Planning Commission minutes from July 11th, and the minutes from the Board of Fire and Police Commission meeting from April 23rd, May 28th, and June 25th, 2019. The Police Department reports for April, May, and June, and the Executive Director's report for the Greater Freeport Partnership on August 28th, and the approval of the second amended City Manager Agreement between the City of Freeport and Lowell Crow. Also is the approval of the Fairgram contract of the IEPA water loan for the Cleveland Street Looping Santa Fe proposal for civil engineering services, as well as approval of the finance bill payable in the total of $846,433.15, and the approval of payroll for pay period ending August 17th, 2019, in the total of $608,571.02. Is there a motion for the approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Brashaw, seconded by Alderman Ross for the approval of the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Berberay.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Meissick is absent. The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. And next is the recognition of service awards. Manager Crow.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we'll start with Chad, and the fire chief can join me up here. This is to recognize Chad Schuer, to recognize you for 10 years of service as of September 24th, 2019, City of Freeport. Included in this is $10 from the Greater Freeport Partnership. You can spend in any of the businesses down there. I want to say congratulations, and I'll like that, so congratulations. And I'll let Chief talk a little bit about you.
Fred, this is Chad.
Tony Busker. Tony Ann Busker, come on up. I got your full name here, so. So, Tony Busker, this is to recognize and thank you for 15 years of service as of September 22nd, 2009 with the city of Freeport, and you will get a $15. You can spend it. Congratulations. Yeah. Chief?
It's my pleasure to stand here with Tony. Tony, for those of you that may not know this, is one of our two records clerks in the police department. But before that, she's been doing that for 1 year. Before that, she was a dispatcher for 14 years. Now, if any of you have watched some of the TV shows, and I usually don't watch many shows, but watch some shows where they involve dispatchers. You know what a difficult job that is. There's very few people that can do that. But about a year ago, she transferred into the records division, which I am very pleased with. Because every day I walk in that room, and that's the smile I see. And so she's a perfect person to be in there meeting the public as they come in and need something from us. And so Tony, you're doing a great job in there, and
Ashley, Stephanie Bradshaw, come on up. So this is to recognize Stephanie Bradshaw, to recognize and thank you for 20 years of service on September 20th, 2019 with the city of Freeport. So congratulations, you got the $20. And I'll turn it over to Ashley.
So I cannot put into words how grateful we are as a library for everything that Stephanie does. And she shows her dedication to the city and the public every day. And she is a trooper. This past year, she's had 3 different bosses. And I don't think that the team could have done it without her. She knows so much about so many patrons that walk through the door, and she knows so much history about everything that's happened inside the library. So I always know if I have a question, I can go to Stephanie and she'll have an answer. And she's just so great to have around, and would definitely 100% notice if she was not there. So thank you for everything you do for me and the rest of the staff at the library.
Thank you, and congratulations to Chad, Tony, and Stephanie. We will move on to item number 6, which is the second reading of ordinance 2019-46. Madam Clerk, could you please read this for the record?
An ordinance amending the zoning classification of property located at 1215 Armstrong Avenue, Freeport, from M1 General Manufacturing to B3 Commercial and Wholesale Business.
Thank you. Director Zupkoff.
Thank you, Your Honor. Once again, a reminder, this involves a storage unit business at the corner of Armstrong and Adams. It encompasses 2 parcels. One is zoned M1, 1B3. This would make them both Zone B3, which will make it simpler for this business owner to construct a fence around his property, with both the parcels being uniform, and will just simplify any redevelopment that might take place at this location moving forward. Really nothing new on it since the first reading.
Any discussion, council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Berberay,
Aye.
Borneman,
Aye.
McClanathan,
Abstain.
Ross,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Busker,
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Mysick is absent. The motion passes 6-0 with 1 abstention.
Thank you. Item number 7 is the second reading of ordinance 2019-47. Could you please read this?
An ordinance amending Chapter 242 Fire Department, Section 242.10G, probationary period, and Section 242.11, promotions of the codified ordinances of the City of Freeport.
Thank you. Chief Liggett.
This is an ordinance change that cleans up and codifies our necessary edits as a result of our reorganization and changes in titles for certifications through the Office of the State Fire Marshal. We presented this and discussed at the COW meeting and had the first reading at our last council meeting. I have nothing, no other changes. If you entertain any questions.
Council? Seeing nothing further on this, Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll on the passage of ordinance 2019-47?
Barbaray.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Brescia.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 8 is second reading of ordinance 2019-48. Could you please read this?
An ordinance amending the codified ordinances of the City of Freeport regarding the regulation of alcoholic liquor and mechanical electronical gaming, amends Chapter 806, alcoholic liquor sales, and modifies Sections 806.04 and 806.21.
Thank you. Attorney Cox.
This is up for second read, not much to present. Certainly happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Your Honor,
Alderman Parker.
I just want to verify that there is no sunset clause then, right? Or is that in this ordinance?
There is not specifically, no. This ordinance will treat the annexed properties the same as the existing grandfathered properties, which are currently in the city. So I think as we discussed last time, the sunset comes by way of attrition. It's unique to that particular license, and we have some fairly strict restrictions on the transfer of licenses in the city.
Thank you.
Further discussion, council? Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll on the passage of ordinance 2019-48?
Barbaray.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
No.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
And Brescia.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-1.
We'll move on to item number 9, which is the first reading of ordinance 2019-49. Could you please read this?
An ordinance of the City of Freeport providing for the regulation and inspection of elevators.
Director Zubkov.
Your Honor, thank you. And this will apply really to this ordinance as well as the accompanying resolution, which is going to be 2019-46 that council will consider tonight. So the Illinois Office of the State Fire Marshal, or OSFM, currently conducts elevator inspections throughout the state. OSFM can authorize municipalities to conduct elevator inspections through an elevator safety program agreement. The agreement requires the municipality to adopt and enforce the state's elevator safety rules, and that's what this proposed ordinance does, is adopts the current Illinois Elevator Safety and Regulation Act and provides the city authority to enforce elevator regulations and perform inspections. Under this agreement, which will be a part of the resolution, the City of Freeport will issue building permits for construction and alteration of elevators, provide for inspection of elevators, issue certificates of operation, and enforce all aspects of the state's Elevator Safety and Regulation Act. And of course, those acts will be performed through Elevator Inspection Services, the company that was the bidder as part of that RFP that was awarded a month ago. The agreement allows for a public safety benefit by providing elevator inspections that are more responsive as well as more affordable to our businesses than those that are currently provided by OSFM. OSFM requires the city to have a licensed elevator inspection company prior to their approval of the agreement, which we do have. And again, on August 5th of this year, Council approved award of elevator inspections to EIS of Burr Ridge. In cooperation with OSFM and EIS, if this is approved, we will communicate with currently registered elevator owners in Freeport through a mailer regarding this transition and inspection, and we would ask for approval of the ordinance and the municipal agreement.
Council.
Mayor.
Alderman McClanathan.
Thank you. Director, I saw some, I think, miscommunications or misunderstanding online. There was some comments from the public, so I just wanted to clarify a couple things on here, addressing this ordinance and then also the contract that we had previously been discussing. This issue and this ordinance is being proposed because the Office of the State Fire Marshal lacks the resources to do the timely inspections in a manner that they think would be best for the municipalities, and so they're encouraging municipalities to enter into these types of agreements. Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct, and that they're proactively doing that. They came to us first with this idea.
Follow-up, Mayor? Thank you. And the price that we're establishing with these services that we're doing is actually lower than what the entities were currently being charged under the State Fire Marshal program. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
And final follow-up, Mayor? And having this run through the municipalities and then as contracted out in services will allow for more localized control, and the intent on this is to have more responsive services, quicker time frames in regards to inspections, addressing issues, so that citywide for the elevators that are subject to these inspections should have more up-to-date maintenance, and then also any issues addressed in a sooner time frame than they would otherwise currently having addressed. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Alderman Brashaw.
Thank you. I had a talk with Manager Crowe about this today to make sure I had the facts straight too. And from what I understand, if we control it, it will be more efficient and it will cost the business owners less. The one question I asked, I don't remember, how many elevators does this affect in the city of Freeport?
There's 134 is the information we have.
Thank you very much.
Anything else? Alderman Burberry.
Just curious, is there somebody on the staff that will be the supervisor or the overseer of this organization that we are giving a contract to keep them moving forward on time?
I believe that it'll be kind of directed through the Department of Community and Economic Development,
Okay.
so some combination of myself and in conjunction with city management.
And so the building permits portion of it is directed through the building inspector.
Okay.
Ultimately, those building permits are issued by Director Zubkov, and so he's the one that makes sure that those are done. But we always have been out there to building inspector to follow up on those as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion, council?
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Brashaw.
I'd like to make a motion to move this forward.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Brashaw, seconded by Alderman Busker to move ordinance 2019-49 on to the next regularly scheduled meeting. Item number 10 is the first reading of ordinance 2019-50.
An ordinance of the City of Freeport approving the purchase of certain real property from the Stevenson County Tax Trustee.
Manager Crowe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have originally, Assistant City Manager Kirsten Hines is going to present this. On Friday afternoon, we were notified by the state that they have a different form than what we had presented for the purchase of these properties. We've been working with them for 6 weeks, and they inform us the day before we take it to council. They want to use their form, the IDNR form. So we would like to lay this over until the next council meeting so we can work with the Stevenson County trustee and Department of IDNR to make sure that we have all the forms right before we go forward and approve the purchase of these properties.
Do you need a motion? All right, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman McClanathan, seconded by Alderman Busker to move the first reading of ordinance 2019-50 on to the next regularly scheduled meeting. Next is item number 11, which is the adoption of resolution 2019-46. Madam Clerk, could you please read this?
Resolution of the city authorizing and approving an Illinois Elevator Safety Program agreement with the Office of the State Fire Marshal.
Thank you. Director Zubkov.
Thank you, Your Honor. I really have nothing to add, but I'm open for any questions. Thank you.
Council? Alderman Burberry.
I'm not sure who can answer this, but it seems logical that if the Illinois Office of State Fire Marshal has a certain budget to accomplish
inspections and approvals throughout the year, that if they're not going to be doing a lot of those, are they going to be spending that money someplace else? That's not a question to answer necessarily, but it begs the question, what are they doing with all the money they're not going to spend? So
I can't answer that.
okay, I didn't think we could.
You know, what we were told was, if we don't adopt this, they'll just come in and decertify all of our elevators as they come up for their next inspection, because they don't have the time or the manpower to do this.
But they have time to decertify it. Okay, thank you very much, I think.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Bradshaw?
motion to adopt.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Bradshaw, seconded by Alderman Parker for the adoption of Resolution 2019-46. Could you please take the roll?
Berberay.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
And Bradshaw.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, item number 12 is the adoption of Resolution 2019-47. Could you please read this?
Resolution of the City of Freeport authorizing execution and amendment of Federal 5311 grant agreement.
Director Zupkoff.
Thank you, Your Honor. So last meeting, you'll recall, we did this, but for the Downstate Operating Assistance Program. That's the state money for Pretzel City Transit. This is the federal. So an annual routine thing, and much as usual, it bears great resemblance to last year's document, except now it's fiscal year 2020 instead of fiscal year 2019.
Housekeeping matter.
Yeah, basically.
Madam Mayor.
Your Honor.
Alderman Busker.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Was there something else that someone wanted to say? No? Okay, so we have a motion made by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman Parker for the adoption of Resolution 2019-47. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Berberay.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
And Bradshaw.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 7-0.
Item number 13 is the approval of the quote from Martin for repaving the Newell parking lot. Director Carr.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. The parking lot that's in this quote is the city parking lot that sits along State Street between Exchange and Stevenson. We currently lease that parking lot out to Newell. That lease agreement is running up, and they have asked us to resurface the parking lot before they do anything with the new lease. So we reached out for quotes. We got a quote back from Civil and from Martin. The quote for Martin came in cheaper for us by 38 cents a square yard. We initially bid them both out together as both our parking lot and then also Newell's parking lot adjacent to it. After the bids came in, Newell decided that they were going to resurface their parking lot by themselves. Civil had done the work for their parking lot in the past, and so they wanted to maintain that relationship there. However, Martin is cheaper, so staff requests the approval from City Council to enter into a contract with Martin and Company out of Oregon to resurface the parking lot for the amount of $38,720.
Manager Crowe.
Council, for your information, we did reach a contract agreements with Newell this afternoon. This is going to be amortized. The lease will be $500 a month, and then there's an agreement that at any time that they break the lease, they will have to repay us for the remainder of the amount of the lease. So the first portion of the lease is for 10 years, so we make sure the cost of that parking lot, resurfacing that parking lot, is covered. In that contract, which I'll be bringing back to you, sent the red line to Aaron this afternoon for his final comment and review. They will be responsible for all other maintenance after we resurface it on the parking lot.
Mayor?
Alderman McClanathan.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to having the lease renewed. I didn't see, and I talked briefly before that, I didn't see the bid for Civil included in here for our comparison. Do you have those figures, or could you get us those figures so that we could compare them?
Yes, I do have them. I looked at that right before I came up here. So When they bid, they estimated the parking lot size very differently between the two, so I was not able to use a straight cost, so I had to divide it by the square yardage. So Martin's square yardage came to $12.42 per square yard, and Civil's came to $12.80 per square yard.
Follow-up, Mayor. And what was the difference in the pricing then on the two?
So if we go with Martin's, they estimated out around 3,100 square yards. That comes out to about $1,100.
$1,100 difference
Yes.
between the Martin bid and the civil bid?
Yep.
So the civil bid would be around 39,800.
For the 3,100 square yards.
Madam Mayor.
Alderman Parker.
Where's Martin? Are they local or where are they from?
Martin's out of Oregon.
Oregon? Thank you.
Council, if, I know there's some discussion about question, just if we have to, if you want to award it to the non-lowest bidder, we do have to make a statement as to reasons. The staff has to present it and re-present this to you. Statement of reasons why we are not awarding the contract to the lowest bidder. And this is per our own city ordinance, bidding procedures, which directs us to award the bid to the non-lowest. And when that award is not given to the lowest bidder, a full and complete statement of reasons for placing the order elsewhere shall be prepared by the department director for submittal to city manager and filed with the other papers relating to the transaction.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Borneman.
Director, do you find the 3,100 square yards an accurate estimate of how much the parking lot is?
There was a difference between the two. Martin was estimated about 3,100 and Civil was up around 4,000. I have not done my own, I did not go out and wheel it off myself.
Follow up. That I'm no engineer, but that seems like a kind of a wide range discrepancy. Do you have any suggestion for why there's such a difference there?
I'm going to make an assumption, whether it's a good one or not. When you look at the overview of the parking lot itself, between where our parking lot is at and where their parking lot is at, there's a concrete median that runs down the middle. I'm going to guess that was based off of which side. And also at the same time, there are two of those, so Martin could have been not including those, and Civil could have been including those as our overlay, which they would not be overlaid because they're concrete.
Follow-up. With regards to the logistics locations of the Newell lot, the lot that Newell's paying for, that Civil's doing, how close is the lot that Martin would be doing, or are we talking like neighboring lots?
They are in the same block. They're separated by about a 5-foot, 6-foot concrete island.
Okay, and one more follow-up. With regards to the Civil proposal, which had much more square footage, is that something you could follow up and either verify yourself to see if which one's the more accurate number, or see if they maybe were overestimating?
Yeah, I mean, I could check the square yardage, but no matter which square yardage we go to, Martin will end up being cheaper because of their per square yard price.
And so that council's aware, when we put the bid out, we give a rough estimate, but it's up to the bidder to make the judgment on how much that they have to resurface. And understanding that the bid says resurface this parking lot. So if they give us, there's an overestimation or underestimation, we find that when we do all the engineering bids, that there is a difference when we look at the engineering bids, that there are always differences in amount of aggregate and amount of surface, amount of material that is used. And that's typically, even when we award IDOT's contracts, there's a difference when we're doing roads in how much resurfacing or how much surfacing they can do. What we do is just give them the parameters as we go forward, that this is the parking lot, and then it's up to the contractor to make sure it's right or wrong.
Mayor, does either one of the quotes give you a time limit of when they can have it done for us?
Neither one of them came with a time frame. Both of them, when I was talking to them, was depending on when the contract could be decided or when it could be signed, would depend on when they could get in here based off of their other workloads.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Burberry.
Director Carr, does the city have a relationship or contract history with a group out of Oregon?
We actually have a contract right now with both. So Civil is on contract to do the Woodside Drive project, and Martin is the one that is contracted out to do the Wheatland, Wild Oats, Farmdale Country Court project.
Thank you.
And we have two other contracts. So these are the two contractors that also provide asphalt for the city for doing their own roads. So.
All right, thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Bradshaw.
Thank you. Director Carr, I see too that we were talking about purchasing the leveling binder because of the dips and valleys in the lot. It says the cost of the binder is $98 per ton. But I see it here is listed as an alternate number 1 for that tonnage to be $1,960. Is that included in the $3,807.20? And also have both companies bid that binder in their contract price?
Yeah, so both gave us a cost for the binder itself. They're both very close in that 98 versus 100. I just wanted to make sure we had a cost per ton, so that way if we need to do any kind of regrading in there to make sure that water is flowing, that we have our bases covered and we don't get slapped with an extra that they throw out like a $200 a ton item, which is a very typical fee for like driveway work.
Follow up. Is that price included in the $3,807.20?
The $98 per ton is not included. That is why I asked for it as an addendum. It'd be an extra depending on if when they plane the driveway, if it needs some areas brought up, or I just wanted to make sure we had that.
Follow up one more time. Thank you. So to understand that if we did agree to vote on this either tonight or whatever the council's pleasure is, we also need to consider adding that couple $1,000s for that, because according to what I'm reading, it would achieve better drainage to have that included in the price and to level it out. Is that correct?
There's the potential for it to make the drainage better. Depending on how the milling goes, sometimes when you're planing and your parking lot kind of waves, you end up knocking off the two ridges and the valley doesn't get 2 inches. So in that case, you wouldn't need leveling binder. This is just kind of a in case something is worse than what we're seeing out there once it gets planed.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Alderman McClanathan.
Thank you. I appreciate you being able to answer a lot of the questions. I do think it is best practice for us to see the two proposals. When we're only dealing with two proposals, it'd probably be best practice for us to see it. My comfort level would be just kick it over to the next meeting, see both of those proposals. That way we can make sure we don't have any outstanding questions on it. I'm not saying we will, but I think it's just better practice.
Is that a motion?
I'll make the motion. We'll see if other people
I'll
agree with
second it.
that. Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion made by Alderman McClanathan, seconded by Alderman Warner to move the quote for the repaving of Newell parking lot onto the next regularly scheduled meeting. Is there any other discussion, council? Okay. Madam Clerk, could you please take the vote on that?
Berberay.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
And Bradshaw.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Next is item number 14, which is approval of the quote from Thayer to switch the Freeport Art Museum to LED lighting. Manager Crow.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is our last of our buildings that the city owns, and if you did not know, the city does own the Freeport Art Museum. We lease it, the school, to the art museum for their equipment, and because of that, it's considered a revenue-generating facility, and much like the wastewater treatment facility and water treatment facility, we actually get charged for electrical power for this. So this is to replace all of the lighting within the Art Museum with LED lighting. As we go forward, just be aware that when this quote was given, it was prior to the Chinese. Chinese added new tariffs this morning, so we're not sure. There may be some adjustment on that quote. Basically, once we get it, we'll get the final price on the LED lighting. But this is what they have set out. We do have a savings overall. It'll save electrical. The Art Museum is actually one of our largest bills we pay for outside of the streetlights and the airport. So for electrical power, so this will be a big change out, and maintenance savings as well as savings, combined savings of approximately a little over $6,000 between the two once we change everything out. These will be also dealing with Jessica, talking with her since she's the art expert. She says that this will also be more protective of the art than the incandescents within the museum. The Art Museum was in the process of changing the bulbs, which uses the cheap LEDs versus the light fixtures. And with the recycling and cost coming back to us, we estimate a 10-year savings of about $40,000 for this project.
Mayor?
Alderman McClanathan.
Thank you. I believe it's a good project, and since we're paying the costs on these energies, and the payback projected was less than a year and a half, that's good. What I do recall, though, the last time we operated with Thayer, like shortly thereafter, came back and after we approved it, they came back and said the price was higher, and they talked about again the international trade. What do we need to do to get a proposal that when we know that if we're going to go with Thayer, what the price is when we're passing it? Can they give us a good through, a meeting date price here so we don't run into that again?
Well, when we're dealing with the LED lighting, it's what the international market is. They come out and give us the quote. It takes them about 6 weeks to get the quote they give us what they believe is the best. I don't know. Really, is the estimate if they can get an estimate today and we can approve it tomorrow, it's a good quote based upon what's going on in the international arena dealing with markets. They believe this is a good quote, but they also, they called us Friday and said that the Chinese just added additional tariffs for LED lighting is on it.
Mayor?
Alderman McClanathan.
Did they give us an update today then on price?
No, they have not yet.
Mayor?
Actually, the attorney would like to have a little say on that.
One item that I was just going to mention, and I've had this with other companies similar to Thayer that are quoting based on ComEd incentives. If you look at the terms of the agreement, page 7 of 10, it states that number 9, ComEd incentives are subject to approval from ComEd and are not controlled or guaranteed by Thayer Lighting. One of the things that you could do is limit your approval of this work or this agreement to the customer cost after incentive, which is the $9,557.45. That way the amount of the expenditure would be locked in at that amount, which is the customer cost before incentive, taking off the incentive amount, and then the amount that Thayer is quoting is the price following the incentive. So you could lock in what you're willing to approve at that amount, which would then obviously limit the amount of work that would be done without having to come back before council then and ask for subsequent approval in the event that there was a price increase. So you would have to make as part of your motion the fact that the agreement with Thayer is being approved up to an amount not to exceed $9,557.45.
Mayor,
Alderman Borneman.
is this an amount that needs council, this is an amount that needs council approval, right, Attorney?
That's correct, yes.
And if we approved, follow-up question, I imagine if we did approve it up to a certain amount and then it came back and there was, let's say, $1,000 more of work, that couldn't be something that could just be approved, that would be
It
considered?
would come before the council as a change order to the agreement.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
One more follow-up for the
Yes.
city manager. When you said that Thayer believes this is a good quote, you were more in the terms of this seems to be a fair quote, not the actual quote.
When they gave this to us and they believed that this was the valid price at this point, and when we went forward. So they did the inspection on 6/26/2019. They forwarded this to us last month, and they felt that that was a valid quote at that point. What happened is Friday, the Chinese announced they were going to add additional tariffs this morning, which they did, and that one of the things that they're putting a tariff on is additional tariffs are LED lighting. So, I mean, there is no hurry to get this quoted. If you want me to go back and get a valid quote, or a quote, I should say, the best quote that they have based upon the information they have today.
Mayor, just given the uncertainty of what it is, I'd feel more comfortable with that. It's not, I realize you're giving us as up-to-date information as you can, and a lot of this is outside your control. Just something a little more tighter, given our past history, I'd feel a little more comfortable with.
Okay.
I don't know if the rest of the council agrees, though. So, but I'd make that motion to move forward to the next meeting if you would have updated information by then.
Second.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Brashaw.
thank you. Just for thoughtful discussion, perhaps they could break it out to what that tariff amount would be so that we could actually look at that increase too, if there was an increase. There?
I'm not, so they get the cost per item. They don't get the breakdown on what the tariffs are. They know that the lights are produced in China. I'm not sure that they would be able to break it down to that, because those are established at the federal level.
So there's no exact percentage point or anything that they go by? Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion, council? And you have a motion before you made by Alderman McClanathan, seconded by Alderman Parker to move the approval of the quote from Thayer to the next regularly scheduled meeting. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Berberay.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, next we'll move on to department head reports. Finance
Thank you, Your Honor. I have nothing for tonight.
and community development.
Thank you, Your Honor. Since there's not another council meeting before Paint the Port, wanted to remind you, in addition to that great event that night, Ratio will be there for an activity for the general public to participate in our comprehensive planning process, one of the public workshops. Spreading the word on that, and since I'm on the topic, might as well mention I gave a presentation to Rotary today on that subject, what that I feel was received well from that organization. Thank you.
Good, thank you. And Director Carr.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. We've got 2 bid openings coming up. Friday, we've got the surplus bid. It's going to be opened at 10 a.m. So if anybody in the listening public is wanting to bid on some office supplies or the old Pretzel City buses, please find that on our website and turn in your bid by 10 a.m. on Friday. The second bid we've got is a week from Thursday. So Thursday the 12th at 11 a.m. will be the bid opening for Old City Hall, the Old City Hall wall. Other than that, we got an awful lot of rain this morning. And with that, we've got quite a bit of flooding areas, but it seems like it's all kind of settled down. But we will be sweeping our main routes due to all of the junk that got deposited on the intersections there. So they will be working on that for most of the week.
Okay, thank you. Fire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. September is Emergency Preparedness Month. I'd like to remind everybody that we have some responsibilities to prepare for disaster, and the general idea is that we can expect help to arrive in 72 hours to a week, depending on when FEMA can help us get resources here. So it's imperative that we help and call on our citizenry to prepare for these disasters. Week 1, which is September 1 through 7, is Save Early for Disaster Costs, the theme for that week. So we're looking to save cash, sustenance, like food, medicine, things like that we need to survive, and then also clothing. Those types of storage and preparation will help us in surviving a disaster. Then week 2, which is 8 through 14, is Make a Plan. What we're looking for there is for families to develop a detailed communication plan of how they'll talk to each other if there's no cell phones, no texting, no telephone to call. How are you going to communicate and where are you going to meet? Having that meeting place is very important, especially if there's a tornado and there's no street signs or identifying markers available to you. So having that place to meet is very important for a family. Week 3 is Teach Youth to Prepare. One of the things that is imperative to reduce the impact on emergency services, the future impact on emergency services, preparing our youth for self-sufficiency. So one of the things that we want to do is make sure that we're educating all of our youth on what they need to do to prepare to respond to a disaster, and then taking responsibility in the absence of an adult if one was injured or killed. And then week 4, get involved. The best part about this is volunteering in an organization, whether it's the Red Cross or the Salvation Army or your local church, or even a volunteer fire department, medical corps. There's different volunteer aiding in disasters that are available, like Team Rubicon. And those are all areas where folks can prepare and assist other jurisdictions that are affected by disaster. So those are the themes for disaster or emergency preparedness month. Also, September 11th is approaching. There are going to be some services out there that you might be interested in attending. And we want to thank the public for all of the accolades that we receive in remembrance of what occurs on 9/11. National Fire Prevention Week is approaching, October 6th through the 12th. I would like to bring a resolution to the council at some point in the future, or a proclamation, excuse me. We'll do that. Firefighters Local 441 is going to be filling the boot this weekend at West and South Street in Cub Foods. And then we had 2 emergencies in the last 24 hours, besides the flooding, the rapid flooding, flash flooding. We had a fire at on Main Street, 2 garages, and then this afternoon we had a basement collapse on American. No injuries, everybody's safe, and the Red Cross is helping the family that was affected by the building collapse. I have nothing further to report.
Thank you. All great information. Police.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to bring to the public incidents that occurred recently. We've had multiple motor vehicle burglaries on the west end, Stevenson Circle, 1300 block of Lincoln, 1500 block of Harrison. I'm asking the public, reminding the public to lock their vehicles. Please lock your vehicles and take the keys out, because many of these can be avoided if they just remember to lock their vehicles. We did arrest one teenager for a motor vehicle incident, but we've had some after that. So we believe there's several people involved. The one that we caught was because a neighbor was paying attention and took the time to call us a suspicious person. So we always appreciate that partnership with our citizens and them being attentive. We also had a stolen vehicle. Again, keys in the car and left on the lock. That's it on the motor vehicles. Dustin Groen will be sworn in as a new Freeport police officer on September 11th at 9 a.m. right here in the council chambers for anyone that wishes to attend that swearing in. Also, as part of trying to be out there in the community and keep the lines of communication open, I attended the Salvation Army board meeting, the Freeport Schools start of school staff assembly, along with the fire chief, and met with Township Supervisor Patrick Sellers. Also, fire chief would like me to remind you, we would like to remind you, all the motoring public, do not drive through flooded streets. I'm not sure how many times we have to remind people of that. Weather Channel, you're reminded of that every other minute. Please don't do it. The other thing is I wanted to let you know that the police department generator has been installed and has been tested and is working properly, and we appreciate the 911 board's efforts in upgrading that and working with the city in bringing that to fruition. Also, the LED lighting project for the police department is complete. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Water and sewer.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to talk a little bit about the rain event that occurred this morning. High intensity, short duration. We had just under 3 inches of rain recorded at the Hancock plant in an hour and a half to 2 hours. The plant seemed to handle it well, and I had the regular construction crew just doing some cleanup as far as putting lids back on and general tasks. That's it.
Thank you. IT. And library.
Good evening. Nothing too exciting, but it is National Library Card Sign Up Month. So if you don't have your library card, come to the library so you can get one. And because we're all very busy people in this room, one of the benefits of having a library card is we do have ebooks and e-audiobooks that you can download onto different devices to have with you at all times. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And assistant to the city manager.
Thank you. So this is an update on the Freeport Complete Count Committee. We submitted 2 grant applications, one with the Freeport Community Foundation, their Community Needs Grant. We will hear back on that October 24th, and so that application was submitted in collaboration with the Greater Freeport Partnership. They were listed as the fiscal agent on the application. And then the second was, and we submitted a letter of intent to Region 1 Planning to be a sub-recipient of the IDHS, the Illinois Department of Human Services 2020 Census Grant. And so that one, I believe they're offering up to $20,000 to communities throughout Illinois for this grant, so it's pretty big. And then an update on the pre-disaster mitigation grant. FEMA released the guidelines for this year's grant earlier last week, and so we have that in now, and we're working with Region 1 Planning to get everything together.
Mayor.
Thank you.
Alderman McClanahan.
Sorry, I know I always ask you questions about the pre-disaster mitigation grant, but so you said with the guidelines coming out, do they look substantially similar to the prior, or are we going to have any major adjustments in the process based on what we've seen so far.
So,
There were a few changes. I believe we need to get them clarified with Sam from the
Sam,
Illinois.
it looks like for the purchase, when we look through the purchase and we've had a discussion, the amount that was set was still in there. But we want to make sure it's so the up to $4 million grant with our match of $1.8 million would be be there to give us $5.8 million. But there are some changes in dealing with. There's also infrastructure. There's an additional infrastructure grant in there, and when they looked at that, when Region 1 looked at it, they said we might be able to also qualify for some of that as well. And so they're looking if we may be able to submit 2 grants versus 1. So,
thank you both.
Mayor, for the viewing audience, anybody east of the Pecatonica, how much more time they may still have in order to sign up?
So at the last meeting, I believe we talked about October 1st being sort of a tentative deadline. Yeah, and so we'll still be working with that. And this week on Thursday, the community development intern Abigail and I will be going door to door to the houses who haven't signed up for the grant yet, and we'll give them more information on it and see if they're interested in signing up, and we'll have the forms with us.
Okay.
Then.
Thank you.
Currently, we have 115 occupied properties that have signed up for it. We have an additional, we estimate between an additional 40 to 45 that have people still living in their homes that have not yet signed up for the grant. And just so that, just to reiterate to council as we go forward, one of the guidelines is that we've had to really go forward with the pre-disaster mitigation grant, and also the Illinois Department of Natural Resources grant and DECO, is the enforcement of the 50% rule, which is we cannot issue a building permit if it's in areas to homes that have received more than 50% damage, 50% of the value of damage over a sustained period of time. And in this period, we're using the last 3 floods to look at that. So that's if we violate that, all that money that we have goes away. So
That's it.
Any other questions for the assistant? Okay, then we will move on to city manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple things that we will be presenting the initial design of the water treatment facility at the next council meeting. Our next COW. I will tell you that Director Carr will not be here for that. He's going out for the APWA conference, but that'll be presented by Fair Graham as we go forward. But you'll see kind of the look and the concepts we've been reviewing. The staff has been reviewing design plans. We actually had a meeting with all staff to look through the final safety designs on it last week with the architect. We are also in the process of installing the solar panels, or moving forward with installation of solar panels at the wastewater treatment facility. This will give us between 60 and 65% of our energy that we use out at the wastewater treatment plant coming from solar. We are worked out some final details on that. The panels have arrived, but they should be in. We're supposed to start today, but I think that they maybe have gotten delayed because of the weather. So we are excited about that becoming a green community. And then Congresswoman Bustos this morning hosted a economic development roundtable, and what was good to hear is that us and the county are basically their representative and our representative. I went there, are on the same page as what's important for economic development. Steve Fritz was the county representative. So the expansion of 20 infrastructure within, and then And then the fiber high-speed internet for rural communities, for economic development.
That all?
That's it. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. I just have two things to remind the council. Next Saturday, or the 14th, is the electronic recycling event at Highland, and it runs from 9 until noon or until the semis get full. So first come, first serve kind of basis, and it's $20 cash for up to 7 electronic items. And then also, if you want to mark on your calendars, Saturday, September 21st from 1 to 6 is an end of the summer block party and expo presented by Freeport Flight Radio 105.7. They are going to be having a community event at the Deacon Davis Courts on Liberty, where they'll have food vendors and various contests as well as live music. So if you'd like to avail yourself to that, that is September 21st. And so that moves us on to council's new business. Alderman Berberet.
Nothing to report.
Alderman Borneman.
Thank you. Just briefly, I want to thank Director Sutman for attending the First Ward Neighborhood Watch meeting late last month. He presented on a couple citizen engagement programs that we have here that allows the community to report problems without having to necessarily call and make that report. So I'd encourage the listening public to go to the City of Freeport website. It's under the IWORQ Citizen Engagement tab, and it explains how to download that app that you can use on your smartphone. And then there's also the ability to text in problems to the city. You would text to the number, and that's listed on the website as well. That number is 815-240-2169. 815-240-2169, and that's an easy way to report problems such as overgrown grass, stray dogs, code violations, and just to learn information about the city, like hours of certain departments and updates. So that's, again, thank you, Director Sutman. I think we're moving in the right direction with that, and I encourage people to use those because that's a very efficient way to report problems. And then also, I was able to attend the welcoming ceremony for Dr. Anna Alvarado, the new superintendent of the Freeport School District. I was very impressed and moved by her story. I'd encourage people who are listening to go to the Freeport School District website, check out her welcome letter. She has a very inspiring story, and I think we're in good hands with her, so that's exciting as well. And then finally, Friday night is the Freeport High School football team's home opener, so encourage the public to attend and root on the pretzels. That's all I have.
Thank you, Alderman McClanathan.
Right. Thank you across the board to the administration and departments. Long day from the weather events to the public safety events. Seems like it was a good, quick response across the board, and I'm sure made for a long day. But thank you to the departments. Also, highlighting Manager Crow's letter over the last weekend, highlighting the various capital projects. If you haven't had a chance to see it, go take a look at it. It kind of shows what some of the capital projects have been, where we're going down the road. One thing I wanted to highlight, that you only have so many letters in each article, but one thing I wanted to highlight is that when we're talking about these streets that have been done and that are going to be done, recall that the city through the departments put together kind of an overlay in regards to what are some of the worst sewers, what are some of the worst streets, have been trying to map some of those together. So if you look at it and you say, well, why this street? I'm sure if you'd come on down to City Hall and talk to them, they could say, well, here's where this ranked in regards to the street rating, here's where this ranked in regards to the sewer. And then obviously as we go through time, we adjust it, such as we're looking to maybe adjust this year when you have 13 events in a 3-year period. Well, you maybe need to move something up the list. So I appreciate that that information being provided to the public, and would encourage folks, if they haven't taken a look at it, to take a look at it, because it shows you where some of your dollars are going. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Ross.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Alderman Parker.
One comment to the police chief. I received a phone call from the victim's family on a aggravated battery charge going in progress on La Cresta. And they were very impressed with the police department that responded, the quick response, and the arrest and stuff that was made. They probably prevented someone from being murdered. So they very much appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Busker.
Nothing really to report this evening. I'd just like to thank
Chief Liggett for coming out and attending a neighborhood block party at Faith Church there. It was nice to see him come and talk with the public that showed up there and engage. Nice to see him doing that first thing here. Thank you.
And Alderman Bradshaw.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to remind the listening public that we have a neighborhood watch meeting this Thursday, 6 p.m. at the Schwartz Funeral Chapel on Park Boulevard. This should be a really great meeting. Officer Upman will be doing his crime report. We will be having Manager Lowell Crow there speaking on the city garbage contract that the council voted on recently. We've had a lot of interest in this contract. This meeting is open to the public, not just Ward 6, again, 6 p.m., Schwartz Funeral Chapel. We will also be talking again about the Text City of Freeport. Just like Alderman Borneman, we did do that program our last neighborhood watch meeting, and we had requests for more information on that for the people that couldn't attend the last meeting. So again, we hope to see you Thursday at 6 p.m. Thank you. That's it.
All right, thank you. That concludes new business. Next is item number 19, which is public comment. Tommy.
Please, Chief, I want to tell you, who's going to be the new chief, you said?
We don't know yet, Tommy. There's a process that the city council is going to follow and a search of candidates, and they'll make a decision after they see all the information, do all the interviews and that. I know you're anxious. Yeah, it'll turn out just fine. Yeah.
I want to tell Joey Miller you did a good job with the mayor.
Thank you, Tommy.
And well, how's that odd plaza? I saw somebody pour the cement there today at the odd plaza.
Oh, were they? You noticed that they were pouring cement. Okay.
I don't know how when they're going to be get done with it.
Anybody have a projected date there?
I think it's late 2020. It's supposed to be. It's projected to be done late 2020.
It'll be a little while yet, Tommy.
All right.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Yes, if you could please state your name.
Hi, my name is Sean Starry. I'm a resident here at Freeport. I know you guys were talking about this flood mitigation grant. I've been staying in touch with the Illinois Department of Natural Resource Director, as well as the National Director's Office as well. Now, the $300,000 that you guys received for the part of the mitigation grant, which is the 50-50 rule, comes into play, okay? So I'm going to give you guys an idea of how that impacts the people over there on the east side of town. Okay, because of this rule, the value of my house went from $64,000 to $1,400 relatively within 1 month. During that time, I cannot call an electrician, have him come over and fix my electrical box in my house because we have to pull a permit. Now, the work alone is right around about $1,500. So the value of my home is only $1,400, so we can't pull a permit because of the 50-50 rule. So to let you guys understand and know that my wife and I are living without any utilities in our house, and we have been since March. Now we have to take drastic measures and do other things to make concessions available so we can be able to take care of ourselves. So I know that in the future here, the President's office is looking at releasing some additional funds to the FEMA, and FEMA is going to be checking up with him this week. So I do know that they're going to be getting this money relatively soon, which has nothing and no bearing to the $300,000. So once that money gets released, then it gets dispersed through the state, then from state to the city. I just ask one thing, that when you guys turn that east side over there to a lake, could you guys name it after my wife? I know it sounds corny, but her name is Hope Starry. And the reason why I say that is because it's a kind of a corny story. My wife was born dead when she was a child. She's not, statistically speaking, not supposed to be here today. Neither am I. But God saw fit that we've been put together. We also, both of us, have endured a lot of hardships and a lot of losses in our lives over the years. So I thought it would be fitting for the city to give the city some hope that if we could ever name that lake or that marsh reserve or whatever you want to call it, a hope preserve, if that's possible. So just an idea. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Starry. Is there any other public comments?
Wow, that's hard to follow. Best of luck. Thank you for this time. I'm Terry Steenrod, and I'd like to thank any people who came out to support my cause this evening, my wife. It's time for me to walk my talk again, as I did last December when I spoke to you on the subject of litter in Freeport, and I offered to get involved in an organized, across-the-board effort to attack the ever-increasing problem, as I see it. There appeared to be some interest, but nothing more than what I would call marginal. I was disappointed. Is the litter problem in Freeport not viewed as bad enough or high enough of a problem or crime to identify and pursue the offenders? Is the problem viewed as something that simply cannot be changed or not worth the effort? Or are we waiting for and believe that someone will develop a comprehensive plan to address the issue? My proposal last year called for volunteers to work with key city leaders in a task group format to study the extent of the problem and weigh all the potential actions that could be effective in creating a new and formidable resistance to it. The fact is, interested volunteers coming together to fact-find, brainstorm, and study the problem for effective solutions would be a pretty diverse as well as an economical approach to pursue, if you have the desire to make Freeport a more appealing place to live. But do you? Would it be safe to say that there is currently nothing resembling such a litter task group in the process of tackling the problem? In what I'm proposing, there's no attempt to take away credit or efforts of the many people who are working hard to improve, promote, and create a new image that will attract businesses and good people to our town. Thank you to everyone here or not for what you are doing. I just see the focus on litter and other appearance issues as another piece of the puzzle in getting folks to take pride in Freeport and be part of the story of our turnaround success. I admit I'm an obsessive, compulsive person with my passions, but that's how I'm wired. The Boy Scout in me, where we were taught to leave a place cleaner than you found it, created an animal that has little tolerance for those who disrespect and dirty my and your environment. Let me give you a quick example of what I see as I walk every day. I see good people like you all, out and about, mowing, bike riding, walking, and such. I apparently see litter these people can't see, or it's too far away to reach, like 0 to 10 feet away. Why else would they not pick it up? Someone else's job? I have some ideas, but believe that that's one of the many, many questions a sanctioned litter task group would attempt to address.
Thank you, Terry. Your time has expired.
Can I just finish this?
Sure.
It's
Is that okay, Council?
Is that all right?
He's got 2 paragraphs. We good with that?
Okay, yeah, I just have that much to go. Thank you very much. In a letter published in our August 30th Journal Standard, I passed along information that I discovered by watching a TED Talk. I commented that if you know more about how to make it fun to pick up litter, watch this video at TED.com. Jeff Kirshner makes it fun to pick up litter. If you like what you see, you can download the app Litterati, where you can hit the ground walking for litter. I expect that information and ideas such as this are just the tip of what a task group would explore, and might find as a huge tool in its litter fighting focus. I submit these comments and thoughts to you for a second time. I doubt that after tonight I'll continue to attempt to whip a dead horse if that's what this body is on this issue. However, if asked, I would be willing to share the entirety of my thoughts that I see a litter task group performing. What will it be? With that, I'll close by asking you to give serious thought to this, and let's talk.
Thank you,
very
Terry.
much.
Are there any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 20, which is executive session. Madam Clerk, could you please read this?
Regarding Police Department personnel pursuant to 5 ILCS 122C1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. Pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2 C11, litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and it is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the findings shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting.
Thank you. Is there a motion to enter into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman Brashaw. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Berberay.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
And Brashaw.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.